My God, man. Hello and welcome back to the Jet Prez podcast. My name is Justin Fried. That's Mike Luciano. And we're breaking down a Jets win. I don't know what I saw. We're still processing everything. We had some technical issues. That's why we're a little late. My brain is kind of scrambled right now. But Mike, what in the world did we just see?
This game is the one that broke me. I can't make an analysis on this game. What the hell even happened?
I don't know.
We've discussed all the bad Jets games we've seen before. The Greg McElroy game against Ryan Lindley and all these other, the butt fumble game and the Wilson Patriots game last year, all of them, irrespective of result. That was probably the hardest football game end-to-end to watch I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Remember Bryce Petty's first start against the Rams? Like, there have been a lot of bad ones. Just end-to-end, complete nauseating tedium and slop outside of the last couple minutes where, in a same old Jets fashion, the Giants snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Robert Earl Gordon and Chad Zach is terrible. Abso-freaking-lutely. That was a horrendous game, and yet here the Jets are at 4-3. Couple games out of a playoff spot, still alive. I genuinely have no idea how to feel about this game. It was one of the most baffling things I've ever seen. So before we get into it, let's just get the housekeeping out of the way first. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, wherever it may be you get your podcasts. We're on all those sites and YouTube. Thank you so much, by the way. We hit 500 subscribers. That is a big milestone for us. It was Thomas Morstead helped a lot, but it was a lot of you fans out there showing your support for us. So we really are so appreciative of that. So now that that's all out of the way, what do you want to talk about first? The offense, the defense, the injuries, the line, Hackett? You call it. Dealer's choice.
Man, first of all, I love that you use the word baffling. I think baffling is a great word to describe this game. I've been saying dumb. This is the dumbest football game I've ever watched in my life. It was the stupidest game. None of it made sense. None of it should have happened. We were halfway through, and I wanted the game to end midway through the second quarter. One, for safety's sake, for the sake of these players, because I swear to God, man, MetLife Stadium's cursed. Like, it's cursed. And it wasn't even
all like landmines underneath here. What the hell is this field?
Right? Like, it wasn't even like all non-contact stuff. Unfortunately, it has been confirmed Al Woods tore his Achilles because the Jets can't win a football game unless a player tears their Achilles. That's the rules. That's the rules the football gods have put in place.
Soul for a soul.
Worst, Patrick Taylor in chat said, worst football game I've ever watched in my life. First of all, I love that we still have these Halloween-inspired graphics going on right now because that was a scary game. That was a very scary game. I don't know, man. But yeah, McGovern and Schweitzer both get hurt. The Jets play Xavier Newman at center, who most people probably don't know who Xavier Newman was. He was signed to the practice squad a few weeks ago. He has played exactly one game in his entire life, or at least after high school, at center. He played one game at Baylor at center. And obviously, that wasn't good. It did not go well. It actually got better as the game went on. But the Jets were down to 0 backup interior offensive linemen. All they had left was Carter Warren on the bench in terms of offensive linemen. There were injuries galore. Obviously, Tyrod Taylor got hurt, and you had Tommy DeVito, who ended the game with -1 passing yards. The last time the Giants completed a pass for positive yards in that entire game was the beginning of the second quarter. They didn't complete another pass for positive yards after that moment, and this game went to overtime. Like, what did we just see, Mike?
That's where the confusion starts, because on one hand, like, all right, I know that they had that DeVito running for a touchdown, but is there some sort of stat where it's like points per defensive drive? Because the Jets have to be number one. I mean, they were on the field all the time. They had one minor slip up, which were the penalty aided drive that DeVito ran. And other than that, like, people want to be critical of this defense. Like, what more do you want out of a team than to allow -9 passing yards in an NFL football game? Now, part of that obviously too is Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll. It's like, look, we know this guy sucks, obviously, but you got to at least try to throw the ball. They didn't even attempt to throw the ball, like, to keep them honest or anything. It was like I was watching Army-Navy.
I don't think they expected the game to go to overtime. I think they fully expected to just run, because I tweeted out with, like, I think it was the middle of third quarter. I said the Giants should not throw the ball the rest of this game, and they'll probably win it. And they basically
almost did.
And they basically took me up on that. Didn't throw the ball the rest of the game until overtime. And somehow we get to, dude, we got to break this down. Because how in the world did we even get to overtime in the first place? It took multiple Graham Gano missed field goals, including one. What was the last one? 37, 35?
37. After Zach Wilson takes the worst sack he's ever taken in his career.
Oh, two bad sacks.
Two of them, but 4th and 10, rolling out, doing this little skippy thing, gets sacked. I'm like, all right, that's the game. Gano, who's a good kicker, misses these.
He's been bad the last couple weeks. Yeah.
And then Zach Wilson, who before this game, I'm not exaggerating. This is going to sound like, hot takey stuff or prisoner of the moment. Like, I'm watching that. I'm like, all right, you have to start the Trevor Siemian debate again. You just have to. Because, I mean, all right, I know the offensive line was literally pulling guys off the street. That's not an exaggeration. That's what happened. They had to pull a guy off the street to play at right guard. They put him at center one snap, and he fumbled the snap, and they almost moved him around. That we get that. But not converting a single third down. Breece Hall, outside of that one play, I know he's playing with UPS drivers on his offensive line, but Breece Hall was at like 10 carries for 12 yards at one point. I mean, he certainly did not look like himself outside of the one.
Yeah, he had the one touchdown.
Which even that, I felt like they could have had him down a little bit, and the Giants just whiffed on a couple tackles, and he took advantage of that. So all that happens. Zach Wilson has to go the length of the field in 30 seconds, and he does it. He finds Garrett Wilson, and then he finds Lazard, who vacillated between unplayable, get him off the field, and wow, what a great play Alan Lazard in this game.
Which is classic Alan Lazard. That
is Alan Lazard, yes.
That is Alan Lazard.
Then they kick the field goal. I'm like, all right. Then the Giants end up getting the ball first. I'm like, this is probably almost better for the Jets. You just pin them deep.
Yes.
Let them lose yards with this Tommy DeVito, Syracuse and Illinois legend Tommy DeVito, North Jersey guy too. So shout out Tommy DeVito there. We know who you are. But that happens. They go backwards like 11 yards. And then through a play called Adoree Jackson, if he didn't have the reputation he had, that penalty in that situation with a ball, Zach Wilson threw that ball. That was nowhere close to Malik Taylor. That almost, if I was the ref, I almost wouldn't have called that because I would have said that was uncatchable. That's how badly he underthrew that thing.
You got to call that, though. That's definitely a penalty. That was 1,000% pass interference.
It was like he was throwing a medicine ball.
That's one of those plays that it sucks for the corner because it's underthrown and the receiver's trying to come back to the ball, but you got your head turned around.
Like, but that penalty in that situation, completely egregious. And then Zuerlein almost misses that kick. That was like,
I thought he did. I thought he missed it.
Oh my God. I don't know what I would have done if he did miss it.
We're not even mentioning how, like, Brian Daboll in a lot of ways lost the Giants this game.
Oh, for sure. The Jets did not win this game.
Yeah, no. Neither team deserved to win. I wouldn't even say that this deserved to be a tie. It deserved to be 2 losses. Like, legitimately, both teams deserve to lose this game. They should both have one more loss in that loss column coming out of this game. But on 4th and 1, with the game on the line, they could just hand it off to Saquon Barkley. There's 28 seconds left. Jets have 0 timeouts. Barkley's running down their throats. The Jets defense is tired. Why not just run the freaking ball, man? Why not run it with Saquon Barkley? Why even give the Jets, like, just end the game right there? He could end the game. Instead, they trot out Graham Gano. He misses a kick. Oh, by the way, Will McDonald makes that play happen because he jumps over the line. I don't know how he didn't touch the center, by the way, but he jumped over the offensive line or, on the line on the kick and forced that kick wide. And the Jets end up getting the ball back. I don't know how any of that happens, but here we are. And normally I'd like to start this like stream and be like, let's talk positive takeaways. Let's be excited about this game. But genuinely speaking, I know we're excited, and I'm very happy the Jets are somehow 4-3 after 7 games without Aaron Rodgers. That's unreal, kind of. But I want to talk about positive takeaways. But Mike, what positive takeaways are there?
But that's the thing. It's like, how can there be? It's one of those things. Like, how can there be positive takeaways in a game like this, but also -9 yards passing?
Yeah,
that's the crazy part.
Like, the defense played great. Like, don't get me wrong. The defense was great outside of some horrific penalties, and that is a major problem with this Robert Saleh defense.
Justin, you want to get really mad really quick?
Probably, yeah. Let's go for it.
Brandon Tierney, the head coach, has shown less progress than the quarterback.
Wait, we're talking about Saleh?
Yes.
Dude, I've said this before on the show. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people blame the coaches for penalties. There is zero correlation between good coaches and penalty yardage. It's dumb. That being said, I'm gonna be hypocritical and go back on somewhat what I just said, because I do think there's something to the way that this Jets defense plays and how many unnecessary roughness and roughing the passer penalties they get, because they play at 110% on every single play. And unfortunately, when you do that on defense in the NFL in 2023, you're going to get some penalties. And so while I do think Saleh is not to blame for the penalties, and by the way, the Jets have actually been pretty good with penalties for the most part this year. This game was an exception. I do think that the way that he runs his defense and the way that they play on defense contributes to penalties. But overall, they were good. Like, it's impossible to blame the defense for this game in any way at all, even if the penalties are annoying, even if I still think they have a liability at both their safety spots, despite Jordan Whitehead calling me out on Twitter last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago. I still 100% believe that the Jets have two bad safeties. Like, they have two below average safeties. I'll say that. But either way, I mean, the defense is not to blame for this game at all. Everything on the offense sucked. Like, I think we could just blatantly say that everything on offense sucked.
Obviously, the two biggest culprits in that are Wilson and Hackett. And the challenge for me in this game, outside of watching the game, was trying to figure out who gets the bigger piece of the blame pie for this performance. Now, again, Zach Wilson, credit, he needed to make some of the plays of his life to get the Jets into field goal range to tie and win that game, and he did.
Yeah.
And you can't discount that. You can't say they didn't happen. Tremendous plays by Zach Wilson. Also, Garrett Wilson is
unreal.
Unreal. Like,
he's unreal.
We've kind of vacillated between Hall and Wilson. Who's better at their position individually? I feel like it's Garrett.
They're both so important to this team. Like, I know during the midweek during the bye week, we said that Breece Hall is the MVP. This offense does not function. It barely functions right now, but it functions even less if either Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson were to miss any time. They absolutely need either of them to even look halfway close to being competent, which is kind of what they were today.
Here's the crazy part, though. Obviously, play calling. Why? And again, I hate people say, play calling, because you don't know how many plays are called in the huddle, who checked to what, who audibled to what. Like, we get that. But look, as Marcelo Cabrera says in chat, Hackett is more to blame. He gets stuck in his ways in some games. I mean, certainly. Yeah. But then I'm looking at it, and everyone, I feel like things are very reactionary, just in general on Twitter. But how many tweets did you see? Feed Breece Hall, and then they did, and he wouldn't get anything. And they're not throwing enough with Zach Wilson. Then they throw on 3rd and 1 like 3 times. They never get it. It's, why don't you run Breece Hall? Well, because they did earlier with the backup lineman, and it didn't work. Like,
yeah. I said it on Twitter where I was like, I would love the Jets to open up the passing game right now. Unfortunately, they don't have a single wide receiver outside of Garrett Wilson who can consistently get open. Their offensive line is in shambles because of injuries, and their quarterback, they don't trust their quarterback to throw the ball. Like, it's impossible. So how you want to open up the passing game, you want to say, hey, open it up, but like, it's really tough when you don't have receivers that can get open. Your O-line stinks and your QB stinks. It's really hard to throw the ball.
Which is that's the crazy thing. So I don't even know how to evaluate Hackett, honestly. Like, obviously, I think he's very vanilla, but like, look, I guarantee you, we don't like Nathaniel Hackett. We haven't liked Nathaniel Hackett for months and months and months. I guarantee you he's at least thought of some of these creative plays, at least trying to do some of these things. Why do you think he's not doing it? Because Zach Wilson, we all know that he has the accuracy issues. We all know he has the issues with seeing the field, with outside of, honestly, just the Kansas City game, really getting the ball out quick to where it needs to be. I have never, like, we've seen bad quarterbacks. The pocket presence for Zach Wilson is as bad as I've ever seen any quarterback play an extended period of time. Not like Tommy DeVito in a one-off game. Like, for anyone to play an extended period of time, maybe 20-something games, I cannot remember a quarterback with worse pocket presence. Yeah. And I assure you, if you go back and look at the film, guys are open, that he missed either with an inaccurate throw, or he didn't see it because Kayvon Thibodeau was on top of him. By the way, Mekhi Becton, the one normal starter in this offensive line, was him and Lakin. But yeah, Mekhi was awful today. Oh my God.
Yeah, I gave up a couple of big pressures. Thibodeau has been really good this year. He has 7.5 sacks now or something. He's been really good.
Speaking of WFAN, why are they intent on saying Kayvon Thibodeau sucks?
Dude, I'm so glad you brought up WFAN, because I need to hear what Sean. No, I don't want to give him any airtime. But Sean Marash, he was going to be the most insufferable human being alive if the Giants won this game. And he's still going to be the most insufferable human being alive because that's who he is. But at least the Giants didn't win the game. Send him that clip. I don't even care.
Burn your networking connections like this, man.
Boomer already's got beef with me. I don't care. I'll burn down my connections with it, or I'll burn the bridges with all of WFAN.
That's half of the show's daily programming's out to get you now.
Yeah, it was It's honestly, the entire offense was just awful. Like it's hard to even sit here and be like, there's blame to go. Like who deserved what percentage of the blame pie, because it was all bad. Like, and that's how football works. Like when multiple things are going poorly, it's going to snowball. And that's what happened with the Jets offense today. The play calling, you could say, was bad. The entire offensive game plan, you could say, was bad. Obviously, Zach Wilson played poorly. The wide receivers, I think, outside of Garrett Wilson, although Lazard had one nice catch late in the game. He did have a couple
I thought he maybe could have caught that slant on like 3rd and 10.
He should have caught that slant. He absolutely should have caught that
slant.
I thought
he did. That's just me. Maybe that's me being liberal with the catch rules, but
no, I think he should have caught that. Or I don't know. It wasn't a catch. Like, he didn't have his left hand.
I'm saying, I mean, I think he did, and they didn't.
No, I don't have an issue with that call. I will say, don't really have a big issue with the referees today. And whether the Jets won or lost this game, I would have said that. I just want to be fair, because I know people have been like, "Oh, you're blaming the refs for anything." I want to be fair. I thought
we blame the refs for Kansas City at the end. That's
I thought the offenses were fine today. I don't think they made many egregious calls. They actually called some holds on Jets defensive linemen, which that was surprising to see. Of course, Jets didn't get any roughing the passer calls. And I also thought that the penalties on the Jets defense, like the Quincy Williams and the Jermaine Johnson hits, those were fair. Like, Jermaine Johnson came in way after that play and hit him. That's fair. But yeah, it's bad. And I'm with you on Zach Wilson. He's such a frustrating quarterback to watch. Obviously, that goes without saying. He's at his best. And the reason he does well in these 2-minute drills, in these scramble drills, is because he's at his best when he's not thinking and when he's playing backyard football. And that's what he does. With 24 seconds left or whatever, what is he doing? He's playing backyard football. There's no offense for that. There's no game plan. It's chuck it down the field. Hopefully you find someone open, scramble around. And Zach Wilson has the talent to actually make plays in those situations. And when he's not thinking, he's not in his head. Unfortunately, when he's thinking, he gets in his head and stuff snowballs. But I will give him credit. He had the 2 fumbles, but he didn't throw any like balls that I really thought should have been intercepted in this game.
Wow, that's a freaking backhanded compliment if I've ever heard one.
I mean, I'm saying, because normally Zach Wilson snowballs in these situations. When I thought he was going to snowball, Mike, when he threw that ball in the dirt, when he had, who was it? Was it Breece Hall? And he threw it in the dirt on 3rd and 1 or whatever. Or
yeah.
I thought right then, I'm like, oh, that's it. He's going to snowball now. And I'm pretty sure I tweeted out like, oh, I'm feeling a Zach Wilson turnover in my bones, because that's what Zach does. He usually folds as soon as like he gets in his head, because he realizes, oh, I just let my team down there. That was a miss. I should have had that. Instead, he responded well and played his best football late in the game. He's not a good quarterback. He's not a starting caliber quarterback by any means. Is Trevor Siemian better? Yeah, you could probably argue it. But the Jets won the game, and they won it due in large part to how Zach Wilson played during the final 30 seconds of regulation. So that deserves some credit. And he did take the deep shot to Malik Taylor. So credit to him there, I guess. Even for getting a defensive pass interference call. But it's just weird, man. I don't know how to properly evaluate Zach Wilson. I don't know how to properly evaluate the Jets offense, other than to just say it was all really bad and this isn't sustainable. Like, I know we're happy the Jets are 4-3, and believe me, I'm very happy about that. And I was thrilled and jumping up and down at that win. But it's not sustainable to keep winning games the way that the Jets are winning games right now. They're relying on turnovers. They're relying on their opponents to bail them out, which that's what they've done. That's how they've won pretty much all of their games this year. They're, other than I'd say the Denver game. I think the Denver game, they deserve to win that on their own accord. But like, they're relying on turnovers. The Bills, they needed a bunch of Josh Allen turnovers. And yes, they're getting those takeaways, but getting takeaways like that isn't a consistent or a reliable and consistent approach or strategy to scoring points in the NFL. It's just not. Their offense isn't competent enough to continue winning games the way they are, but we'll take them as they come. We'll take these wins as they come, and maybe by some miracle, Aaron Rodgers will be right around the corner to save the day. Maybe. Who knows?
Travis Raymond in chat. Fanboys are going to love this final with an excuse to say, I told you so. They did not win because of Zach's performance. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Absolutely. I was comparing this. This season was almost frighteningly similar to last year. It has been for a lot of it. I thought this was going to be the New England game, where they start off hot, winning these low-scoring games. They go on a bye. Then Wilson comes out and lays up a complete stinker, and the defense plays unbelievable football. And then what do you know? They end up losing like 10-3 or something like that, and then everything implodes. Luckily, by the grace of God, Zach Wilson summoned whatever might and power he had left in his body, and he ends up making some big throws to get Zerline into field goal range.
The Jets just posted what might be my favorite tweet of all time, Mike, and I need to read it.
Well, that's a bold statement. So
this is a reference to what's his name? The rant from Don LaGreca. Remember the famous Don LaGreca Evan Neal rant?
Oh, I would cut his fat ass. I love that's my favorite Don rant. I love it.
It's the same. I think it surpassed the Ed Kranepool one. But the Jets just tweeted out, if you see Greg Zuerlein at the mall in Willowbrook, cheer him. Yes. That is such
I love having a terminally online social media admin.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good, man. Oh my God. But yeah, I don't know how to
Ruiz actually is a good comment though in chat where he says converting almost wins into ugly wins is progress. I mean, rookie year Jets, Salah's first year, they lose that game. Even probably last year, if it's in the second half, they lose that game. They didn't lose this game.
I didn't want to vocalize it at the time because, jinxes. But as soon as that game went to overtime, I had a fairly strong feeling the Jets were going to win that game. Like I was very much I was feeling pretty confident just because the momentum had shifted so much after the Giants missed that field goal and somehow bungled that. The Giants somehow allowing that game to even go to overtime is a crime against football humanity.
When Gano missed the kick, everybody in my group chat was going, "Oh my God!" And I literally texted, "Doesn't matter." Yeah,
it doesn't matter. That's my thought. I was like, they got 24 seconds, and then like the sheer amount of things that had to go wrong for the Giants to let that happen. They have to miss a 37-yard field goal. They then have to, because the only reason the Jets even got down the field with no timeouts was because they had a stupid offsides penalty where Kayvon Thibodeau jumped offsides, giving the Jets basically a free play. They cleaned it down the field to Garrett Wilson, and now the clock stops because of the offsides. Otherwise, that's a completion over the middle of the field. You have to run up and spike it, and you get one Hail Mary, and that's it. Instead, they then complete another long pass to Lazard, and dude, I have no idea how with 8 seconds left, they clock that ball. I have absolutely no idea. That was insane.
You know what? Credit Salah, because remember the Denver game at the end of the half where he messed it up?
Credit the coaching staff. Credit the offense. Credit the offensive line, who half of them weren't even on the fucking team the last time that happened, for running down the field, knowing the situation, and getting that ball clocked. Credit to them for figuring it out and fixing what they had messed up last time.
Leon M in chat with I agree with 80% of this, mostly the second half of it. Now he's going to start with the Jets need to get Zach Wilson help, which
they do.
That sounds like Wilson's playing great.
No, I think it's understanding the reality that the Jets, Zach Wilson has played well enough the last few weeks that they're not to cut you off. Sorry, Mike. He's played well enough the last few weeks that they're not going to make a move at the deadline, which means this is your quarterback room moving forward. It's Zach Wilson. It's Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian. Anyway, sorry, go on.
But I agree with the latter half where he said none of the receivers can get open outside of Garrett Wilson. That's true. Now, Lazard being as big and as athletic as he is, he can still make some plays, but he's not really like open a ton. Like Lazard is so volatile.
He is.
But again, when he needed to, made some plays. The offensive line couldn't get space for Breece Hall. That's true. But again, how much of that is that who want to blame for that? The offensive line coach, the players? I mean, they're literally playing with practice squad guys.
They are. And also, you have zero threat to throw the ball downfield. Like, they weren't even attempting to consider throwing the ball down the field until the last play to Malik Taylor, which I'm so glad they finally did that.
It's a limited offense that's easy to defend. Now, as we mentioned earlier, part of that is Hackett knows that he's limited with Zach Wilson at quarterback. You can't run the Aaron Rodgers offense. You can't even run who's like the 16th, Derek Carr. You can't run the Derek Carr offense with Zach Wilson. You just can't, because they don't have a guy that they can really trust to hold on to the ball for long, avoid pressure in the pocket, and make these plays. Now, I will say one criticism that I think Hackett absolutely needs to take to heart is, like, we get that it's, play safe, don't turn the ball over and all that. But we've mentioned this before. Zach Wilson, the only thing that people are saying we think this guy could be a good starter in the future, the only thing they're basing that off of is because of the arm talent, because Zach Wilson's got a really good arm.
He does.
Well, again, what good is the arm if all you're doing is just check downs to Breece Hall? Now, I get maybe today might have been tough, a rainy day, offense is struggling, but Wilson actually played pretty well at the end when he had to throw downfield and make plays, and he did. And again, Kansas City, I thought, was their most vertical game of the year in terms of how they went.
Zach Wilson's career.
And look, the new in vogue in the NFL is cover 2, which is like higher than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. Go 8-9 plays. We're going to take away the deep stuff. And it's working to a lot of the league because a lot of the stats are down for some of the quarterbacks. But again, it's the Giants with Tommy DeVito. If you're not even going to attempt it, then why would the Giants even consider trying to defend it? Wink Martindale, for large portions of the game, looked like he was reading off Nathaniel Hackett's play sheet. It looked like he had a wiretap into Hackett's mic where he's just like, all right, I know what they're going to do here. Run here, pass here, quick throw. At least switch it up a little bit schematically. That's where I think Hackett deserves some blame, is how vanilla everything looked. And Wilson might not be able to execute all of it, but that doesn't mean screw everything and do nothing. And that's what I feel like Hackett's done.
I think the Jets were really afraid of turning the ball over in this game. That's the vibe that I got. And it's fair to some degree, because I do think the game was ultimately going to come down to if one team made a really bad mistake. Obviously, the only reason the Giants got their first points was because of a Zach Wilson turnover. So I think they wanted to avoid putting him in a situation where they could turn the ball over. Unfortunately, they had to do something on offense, especially when they were trailing in the second half, because their defense melted down on one drive. I think that led to the vanilla game plan. And that's not an excuse, by the way. That's not me defending that. I'm just explaining what I think their rationale was. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think everybody was at fault. Like, I think the entire and it's easy to say that, but I think just the offense right now sucks. It's bad. It's bad because of Zach Wilson. It's bad because of every receiver that's not named Garrett Wilson. Like, I think this game proved what both of us have been saying since March, and what Jets fans have been saying since the season started. The Jets need another wide receiver. Like, they absolutely need another wide receiver. Right now, they have Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, who is at best, I'd say, a wide receiver 3. I don't think that's debatable. I think it's pretty clear he's not a wide receiver 2 at this stage.
And he could be an amazing wide receiver 3. Like, I think we both have been generally, overall, week 1 to now, generally happy with Lazard.
He's fine.
Especially considering no Rodgers, so that obviously hurts his production.
It does. He's what I thought they'd get. A guy who struggles to get open, can make some really nice contested catches, which he had that really nice, I think it was in the Chiefs game, right, where he came back for an underthrown ball. That was vintage Allen Lazard. He also had that touchdown in the Chiefs game as well. Like, he's played very well. Like, he's had some really nice plays, but then you just have the drops. And the drops are killer. And it's always been a thing with him. They're really missing a reliable guy on third down. That's really what this offense is missing. Because on third down, who do you trust them to throw it to except to Garrett Wilson? They're not throwing to anybody but Garrett Wilson, because if they don't, it's either going to be dropped by Lazard or whatever. Maybe Conklin, but Conklin didn't do anything today. You know what they could use? They could use a Hunter Renfrow, Mike. They could really use a Hunter Renfrow.
I've been banging the table for it, but again, I banged the table for Dalvin Cook. Look where that got me. By the way, great game, Dalvin Cook, after you opened your mouth and wanted more touches. Great game for you, Dalvin.
Dude, and he got more touches. I swear to God, why was he on the field as much? This bothered me a lot. There were multiple drives in this game where Breece Hall wasn't on the field at all, where he didn't play a single down on the series. The Giants have Saquon Barkley. Do you see the Giants doing that with Saquon Barkley? Do you see them taking Saquon Barkley off the field and saying, you know what, we're going to let Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell handle the load for this drive? No, they don't do that. They take Saquon out when he needs a rest. They don't say, all right, this is a Matt Breida drive. Let's go. Matt Breida, all you, buddy. They don't do that. So why do the Jets do that with Dalvin Cook? Cook's worse than Matt Breida. Why? I don't get it, man. And it makes me mad. It makes me really mad. No, that didn't lead them to their offense being terrible in this game. It didn't lose them the game or whatever, but it's still annoying. It's still bad, because guess what happened? They had Dalvin Cook for an entire offensive series. The very next drive, Breece Hall houses one for 50 yards. Just have the threat. Like, the offense should have the threat of having Breece Hall out there. If you have him on the field, you have the possibility that you could house one. Dalvin Cook's not housing one for 50 yards in 2023. He's just not. And Michael Carter's not going to do that either. At least have Breece Hall on the field. It makes me so mad when they do that. And it's kind of ridiculous that it's week 8 and they're still doing it, even though Dalvin Cook's been the worst running back in the NFL.
So we got some actually good quotes here from Saleh and Wilson and some of the other guys. Connor Hughes and Zach Rosenblatt, obviously, with a lot of them. Robert Saleh, which I actually really like this quote. He said, they don't ask you how, they ask how many.
I do love that. I saw that. That was a good quote.
That's a good one.
That is the ultimate win ugly quote.
You know what? It counts. It's better than 3-4. Could easily been 3-4 or not.
That it is.
Zach Wilson, 24 seconds, no problem. His thoughts on getting the ball back that late. All right.
Mahomes is 13 seconds. Zach Wilson's 24 seconds.
For all of his faults, the man does not lack in confidence. Earned or not, the man has confidence. Wes Schweitzer left the locker room on crutches with a boot in his right leg, so could be curtains for Wes Schweitzer.
McGovern was also in a boot, so the Jets currently don't have a center.
And Sauce was looking forward to this game all season because of that one play in the preseason where Jalen Hyatt got behind him.
which
He
is
said they
so
treat it like a, quote, Super Bowl winning play. And then Gardner said, how many passing yards they have? -9. We did our job.
mind you, dude, you know what their leading receiver was in this game?
That would be, wait, don't tell me.
It was 4 yards. There were 2 players tied with 4 yards.
Saquon?
No, he had 3 catches for 0 yards.
3 catches for 0 yards?
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard that.
3 catches is wild because that's half their completions.
Oh my God. So half their completions were no yards.
Correct.
Oh my God.
Well, no, incorrect. More than half. Darius Slayton had a catch for -1 yards.
So Darren Waller and Matt Breida, it looks like.
Darren Waller and Matt Breida had 1 catch each for 3 yards. Or 4 yards, I'm sorry.
Genuinely poor Saquon, man. 36 carries when they knew they were running, and poor guy.
Against his childhood team, against the team that his dad has a tattoo of, even though Saquon, 128 yards, 3.6 yards per carry.
I mean, they knew they were running every play because of Tommy DeVito, so.
That is true. Yeah, the Jets, as Leon said here, the Jets will be forced to work out some centers and linemen this week. They literally have no one else. I mean, if Tittman can't play next week, I have no idea what the plan is at center. It might be Xavier Newman. He also says Ben Jones in chat. I think Ben Jones retired. I'm pretty sure that, like, he hasn't officially, but I'm pretty sure that was the last we had heard of him. I don't know a center that's available out, right? I could look
it up. Some sort of Ryan Khalil situation where we pull him out of retirement.
I mean, they have Jason Poe down in the practice squad, who I like Jason Poe. I interviewed him before the draft a couple years ago. Good guy. He has experience playing center, not a lot of it. So they could go the route of saying, "Hey, we're gonna have Xavier Newman start this week. We're gonna elevate him to the practice, or promote him another week. We'll elevate Jason Poe." Maybe that's what they do. I don't know. I think that's a bad plan, but maybe that it's the easiest plan because there's not another guy in their practice squad who could play center. I'm pretty sure Billy Turner played center really early in his career. I'm pretty sure, and I don't think it went well, but I'm pretty sure he played center early in his career when he was with the Dolphins.
I don't think the Jets are in a position to get picky about things like this right now. They literally don't have anybody.
I was surprised they put Newman there. I thought they were going to put Turner there because I'm pretty sure he at least has experience playing there. Newman really didn't, but it really doesn't matter. Whoever they played there, it was gonna be very bad. I'm trying to look up free agents that could be out there because I honestly don't.
Here's a genuine question that I want to answer too, because this game was like a civil war battle. There, like everybody was just on both sides, just body strewn about. Obviously, Tyrod, we hope everything's good with the rib injury. So we didn't really get to evaluate the Jets defense against Tyrod Taylor. They played well against him to start, but we didn't get a whole game of him. So everybody keeps talking about the MetLife turf. All right, number one, they did get new turf, so they did try to replace the old one. I don't know if this is true or not. I've heard this circulated. I've heard because they do so many events there outside of football, like concerts and expos and stuff like that, that they can't like maintain a grass field well enough. And
no, man, I don't know if that's because I'm pretty sure aren't they switching to a grass field for the World Cup in 2026?
They might. Oh yeah, they might be because a lot of soccer players just straight up refuse to play on turf.
So that sounds like bullshit. I don't know. That sounds like bullshit to me. I'm looking it up. It's not pretty, by the way, the free agent centers out there. The top 3 options that I looked at have all retired. Nick Martin is out there. That's fun.
Zach Martin's brother.
He might have retired. Hold on, because top options: Chase Roulier, the longtime commander who has just injury after injury. He's retired. Rodney Hudson retired. Ben Jones pretty much retired. Justin Britt, I don't know, man. Like, it's not good. Matt Skura, Josh Andrews. Jets legend Josh Andrews is available, Mike. They got to
come in home.
They got to bring back Josh Andrews. I don't know. They'll probably just bring in some undrafted guys, and that'll be it. Like unfortunately, they're more adept for tackle injuries right now. Like they have Dennis Kelly on the practice squad, who at least has like 120 games under his belt.
You say that like it's like, oh, we're saved. You have Dennis Kelly on the practice squad. Like it's some great feat.
He's played 120 games. Xavier Newman had played 16 snaps before this game. Like.
They should sign. Who was the guy that the Titans picked and he played like 1 snap and then like they cut him and like
Xavier Wilson.
Isaiah Wilson.
New York guy by Brooklyn, I believe.
He literally like quit football in the middle of his rookie year to be a rapper. That guy.
He had that was a lot going on with him. But I mean I think the Giants brought him in for a little bit too.
They did, and then I remember he was on their practice squad and they finally asked Rob Sale, was their O-line coach back then, about it, and he got this really angry, pissy answer about him, and then they cut him. And that was the only thing I ever heard about Isaiah Wilson on the Giants.
Yeah. So, Mike, what do you do now? where do you go from here if you're the Jets? The trade deadline's in 2 days. Do you make any trades? Do you go out and, well, I mean, first of all, I think we could both agree if they can get anything for Carl Lawson or Dalvin Cook, they should do it. I think we're both on the same page there, right?
Especially with both of them yapping for more playing time. I'm not a cheerleader, Carl. Also, maybe you could have opportunities to cheerlead more with a sack.
I think that quote was taken. If you listen to the full quote, that was like one small thing that he threw in there. I know it's going to get taken out of context because that's how this works. I didn't hate the full quote from him where he was like, I'm still out there giving my best and everything. But either way, I think we're both on the same page that they should trade one of them or either of them if they get anything. But do you think the Jets should make any kind of moves at the deadline to make an addition? Any additions they should make?
Well, Renfro's been my guy.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see. Obviously, Randall Cobb had an injury and he didn't play today. I wonder how the offense.
I don't think that was so. Ian Rappaport said it was a healthy scratch. I just want to throw that out there.
Oh, okay. I thought he had the shoulder problem.
He was questionable, but I mean, take this for what it's worth. Saleh said he was expected to play. So again, it's Saleh.
He also said Dwayne Brown was expected to play. He was with that for a month.
I'm aware of how this sounds, but Rappaport did say that Randall Cobb was a healthy scratch today. So I think that they just made the move. And if that's the case, if they're saying, all right, Randall Cobb, you're a healthy scratch, how do you not make a trade for wide receiver?
Exactly. I was saying, I wondered if Cobb wasn't a healthy scratch, would he have been out there anyway? But it looks like they may have finally pulled the plug. So considering that, I mean, wide receivers got to be the number one priority. Offensive line's in a position where it can't be a really quick fix. It's never a quick fix with the offensive line. And if you have a good offensive line because of the dearth of other options out there, you're really holding on to that guy. You're really not trading him away for peanuts. So because of that, wide receiver seems more attainable. And we've been banging the Hunter Renfrow drum quite frequently. It makes too much sense. It really does. Slot guy, third down king. That's where he made all of his money in Vegas, was getting catches on third downs. Sure-handed, can pick up a playbook pretty quickly, I'd imagine. He's an experienced guy in his 5th season, all those years at Clemson. He's got a lot of miles on his tires, but you can get him. I think the Raiders are willing to move him because they don't seem willing to put him out in the field for whatever reason Josh McDaniels decrees. I don't know why, but
Josh McDaniels.
Because Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
And he's probably not going to cost a ton. We've mentioned on the Jet Press, and we've seen this just kind of making its way around social media, of a swap that sends Carl Lawson to the Raiders and Hunter Renfrow to the Jets. Obviously, that's the dream situation, but even if you have to give up a pick, it's probably not going to be something crazy. Maybe a 5th or a 6th or something like that. I mean, they gave that up for James Robinson, for crying out loud.
Renfro's contract makes me think it wouldn't even be that, because he's still under contract next year. I know it wouldn't be guaranteed, but I think it'd be more likely you're looking at probably just either a straight swap or swap of late round picks. Maybe the Jets throw a 7th in or something. I think it'd be a fairly even swap at this stage, especially because the Raiders have made it clear that they have no plans to play Hunter Renfrow. So it's not like they value him in any way. It's not like he's a part of their offense. I completely agree. And I think after what we saw today, and I said it before, the Jets need somebody who can be reliable and who can feast on third downs. And that is exactly who Hunter Renfrow is. There are other guys out there. I'd love Darnell Mooney. Maybe if the Bears, they play tonight, I think if they lose tonight, maybe they consider trading Darnell Mooney. I know Leon in chat said the Jets should trade for Daniel Brunskill, who I've said that last week. I love Daniel Brunskill. Unfortunately, Titans just won. Will Levis looked good. I'd be surprised if they traded a starting offensive lineman now because of that. However, I do love Daniel Brunskill. If there's any way they can get him, he would be massive. I agree. Renfrow makes a ton of sense. At this point, you might have to make a move for an offensive lineman too, especially if they knowing the Jets. I don't know what the situation is with Tippmann. I know that they've been optimistic about him, but
it went from out for the year to he might play in 2 weeks.
I'm still not convinced he doesn't get placed on IR. Knowing how this team works, sometimes they just really are bad at evaluating injuries. So I wouldn't be shocked if next week, if Tippmann doesn't practice all week and they're like, yeah, we hope to have him back next week, and then next Wednesday they put him on IR. I wouldn't be stunned if that happened. And if that's the case, you need to make a move for a center. You need to, because you can't play Xavier Newman there. You can't play Jason Poe there. You can't play whoever you pick up off the street there. It's not going to work. And now you don't have a right guard as well. So we're not even talking about that. Even if Tippmann comes back and he's playing center for you, who the hell's playing right guard? Is it Billy Turner now? It's probably Billy Turner.
It has to be.
It's Billy Turner. So we're realistically looking at, if Schweitzer and McGovern are out long-term, we are realistically looking at Billy Turner starting at right guard for the foreseeable future. That's bad. Like that's next to Max Mitchell.
Like Leon says in chat, I would sign Lyle Collins. Like again, tackle is bad, but tackle's not the issue right now. It's the interior.
Well,
we don't know how long McGovern's out for.
Collins can play guard. He can play guard, but I don't think he's signing to play guard. Like that's the thing. I'm pretty sure he wants to sign to play tackle. He can play guard. He did it in Dallas, but I don't think he's signing to play guard. So it's unfortunate. We're in just about November, and you're looking for offensive line upgrades. There's not going to be many, but I do imagine that the Jets will now be scouring the offensive line market pretty quickly if these injuries are as serious as they appear, because both McGovern and Schweitzer were both seen in a cast after the game. That's not a good sign.
So let's just take a little bit of a look into the future. We'll go more in depth on the Wednesday podcast, but the Jets have another primetime game coming up after that unwatchable dreck that we just sat through on Sunday. They are on Monday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers. And this continues their trend of playing a gauntlet, by Robert Sala's own admission, of elite quarterbacks. They've had Patrick Mahomes, they've had Josh Allen, they've had Jalen Hurts, and now they'll get Justin Herbert. Now, the Chargers are coming in a little bit wounded on offense. Herbert's playing with a bum. I know it's not in his throwing hand, but that still would probably mess you up if you get a big, giant splint on your hand when you're playing quarterback in the NFL. I can't imagine how that would not. So Herbert's playing with a little minor injury. They have no Mike Williams. I think Keenan Allen's starting to show his age. The running game is below average. I think they're like 17th in the league or something like that. And then the Chargers have one of the worst defenses in the league, ranking at or near the bottom pretty much everywhere. Despite Brandon Staley, the ultimate grifter that he is, who was a defensive coordinator at a D3 school 6 years ago and now is the head coach of Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Defensive coach, can't get it right. So all of that looks good for a 4-3 Jets team that has a history of playing well against really good quarterbacks. Where I'm struggling to get too positive with this is I had this thought in the back of my mind. Like, obviously, this defense is one of the better ones in the league. Far be it from me to say this defense can't move mountains after they allowed -9 passing yards in an NFL game in 2023. I don't care how that happens. That's an amazing accomplishment.
By the way, that's the least amount of passing yards Jets have ever allowed in a game in franchise history, according to Rich.
I wonder what the NFL record is. I thought that would have been close to it.
Yeah, but you forget how bad passing offenses used to
Somebody
be.
in like the 40s where they got like -30 because all the good players are in World War II. Like
this game was on pace at the half to come close to the NFL record for punts in a game, which was 31, which was set in 1933.
Imagine what punting, because again, it wasn't specialized. It was just like get the guy with the strongest leg and boot it. Like, God, imagine that sort of football. But anyway, where I have the hesitation is I feel like at some point some really elite quarterback is going to get him. Now, Dak got him earlier, and Dak obviously I think is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I don't want to do Dak Prescott debate. Brady Belichick stuff and Dak Prescott debates are my two bugaboo. I refuse to do them.
I agree.
Especially because Dak is good and everybody knows he's good, but there's always debate. Anyway.
He's the Cowboys QB, so everyone hates him. It's what happened to Tony Romo for years.
Right. And they're both in that same tier of but anyway.
Yep.
So Dak got him. And although Justin Herbert, I've often, I guess, criticized Herbert. Now, a lot of it was the coordinator last year, but this guy has a bazooka for a right arm. Top 5 in the league in terms of just how far can you throw a ball, how hard can you throw a ball. And now with two coordinators, Lombardi, who was terrible, and Kellen Moore, who's actually, I think, done a pretty good job with Herbert, he's a little more conservative than I would have liked to see.
Yes.
A lot of get the ball out quick hitter to Keenan Allen. Now, again, he doesn't have any vertical threats. Quentin Johnston has been underperforming, but I feel like this might be the week somebody gets him. It's another quarterback who is very smart, very accurate, gets the ball out quick. That's the formula Dallas used. It's not what Philly did. It's not what Kansas City did. It's not what Buffalo did. So after this game, which I know that the Chargers defense is bad, but then again, the Giants weren't exactly world beaters, shut down the Jets. Denver was historically bad. I know they're actually beating the Chiefs right now, but they were historically bad coming in. Zach Wilson didn't throw a touchdown. And then New England, who I think is a good schematic unit, but doesn't really have the personnel in a lot of places. All of them shut them down. So why can't the Chargers?
I agree. I think that this is a matchup that the Jets, this is a bad matchup for the Jets defense. And it's partially because, like you said, Justin Herbert isn't as aggressive as he should be. The Jets defense thrives against those elite tier quarterbacks who try to play hero ball a lot. It's why they've always thrived against Josh Allen. It's why they did well against Patrick Mahomes. They made Jalen Hurts look bad, even though Hurts isn't even the most aggressive quarterback out there. He was still making really stupid plays. Justin Herbert, to his credit, is generally pretty conservative with the ball, although he has turned the ball over a decent amount this year. He's generally pretty conservative with the ball, and those quick passes, those I can just see it now, like the little swing pass out to Austin Eckler, a little slant over the middle of Keenan Allen. That's what kills this Jets defense. If there is a weakness with this team, that's going to be it. The Jets defense thrives when they're in third and long situations and they force the quarterback to make plays. That's when they do really well. I could totally see the Chargers offense coming out and having a good game against the Jets. And I don't care how bad any defense is. The Jets, I don't trust the Jets offense to move the ball against anyone right now. The Jets offense could play. They could play a college team, and I would not be confident that they score 20 points. I'm being completely honest right now, because
the Marist college defense would make some plays against this Jets team.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like, I'm not confident that they'd score 20 points. I'm not saying that they would lose the game or something, but I'm not confident the Jets offense would score a lot of points. Really quick, I do want to get a couple of suggestions here from Leon in chat. Back to the trade thing for 1 second. I just wanted to talk about this because it is fair. He said Trevor Siemian for Ezra Cleveland, obviously joking about Siemian, but Cleveland was somebody we brought up last week. And now with Kirk Cousins done for the year, presumably, I believe he officially tore his Achilles.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe that is somebody they move. Obviously, he's a young guard, and if they want to keep him long-term, they're not going to move him. But who knows? He hasn't been extended yet. I would make a call because Ezra Cleveland immediately steps in as your right guard. And if Tippmann comes back and you're having Tippmann and Cleveland as your center and guard, that's good. That's actually a good center guard duo. A hell of a lot better than Xavier Newman or Billy Turner or whoever they're going to throw out there. Also,
hot dog guy from Section 120.
Whoever they're signing off the street next. Also threw out another name that I talked about last week, which is Cordero Patterson. Yes, please. Give me Cordero Patterson. I'd prioritize getting a wide receiver, like an actual wide receiver, but they just need more threats on offense. Like the Jets offense just needs more playmakers. And I've been saying that since March. That they needed more playmakers, that they only had Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. That's why I was so hard on them to try and sign DeAndre Hopkins. I was so adamant that they did it. Of course, they showed no interest. They wanted Odell Beckham for some reason. I've been very adamant that they needed another offensive playmaker. And it's now October 29th, and they still need another offensive playmaker because God forbid Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall were to get injured. The Jets aren't scoring any points. Like they're barely scoring 10 points now with both of them. If one of those guys gets hurt, they're not scoring any points. I don't care if it's the Chargers defense. I don't care if it's Kent State's defense. They're not scoring points.
Don't call out the golden flashes like that, man.
I appreciate the golden flashes. I'm not even kidding. I had a really long running NCAA dynasty with the Kent State Golden Flashes. So I am a Kent State fan. I won a national championship with them. That's why I thought of them.
This defense, too, if you take out the Cowboys outlier, we've done this before, and I know reading numbers in a list is not enthralling podcasting, but I think this has to be made. If you take the Dallas game out, the Jets have allowed 16 going into overtime, 15, 23 against Patrick Mahomes, 21, 14, 10.
That's amazing. And it's really good offenses in there, too.
Absolutely.
And with no help from their own offense.
Like, that's the thing, too. I don't want to sound like Kirk Ferentz, but complementary football is a real thing. Like, your offense, like, it has to help the defense out. This Jets defense, I want to look up the numbers. I bet per game they probably have, like, more drives than any other defense in the league because the Jets never have the ball. And these games are always close. They can never really just pin their ears back and go after guys. Ever. Like, how many times have the Jets had a 10-point lead all year?
Oh, I doubt it.
I don't think they have.
It would have been against Denver.
Before the end of the Denver game with the.
Yeah, I was going to say they won by 10 against the Broncos, so I guess technically they've had a 10-point lead.
So it's almost November, and there's never been a point on this 4-3 team where you're like, whew, good game plan. Jets are out in front.
That's not how they play. And this is the funny thing about the Jets, right? Because I 100% believe the Jets can beat every single team in the NFL. And I'm not even I don't even think it's like a 1 out of 10 thing. I think they have a decent shot at beating any team on any given day. They really do. But they also could lose to literally any team. And they have a decent shot of doing that too, because of the way that they play these games, because their defense is lights out, and they play lights out against the guys like Patrick Mahomes, against Josh Allen. They could beat any of those teams. And they have. They beat the Bills. They beat the Eagles. They probably should have beaten the Chiefs. But they also probably should have lost to the New York Giants with Tommy DeVito throwing for negative passing yards. They probably should have lost this game as well. And that's just the reality of this Jets team. I don't think we're going to see double-digit wins this season. We're not going to see that, but we're probably not going to see many double-digit losses unless their quarterback implodes. That's the only way they're going to lose games.
And he almost did today.
He did. I mean, he was bad. I would say he did. I wouldn't say he almost imploded. He was just bad. Like imploded Zach Wilson. There's a high bar that's been set for that. Like you need to be really, really bad to get to imploded Zach Wilson. But yeah, that's who they are.
We've all seen a ton of really bad Jets games before. I'm not even talking about just the losses, because we've all seen bad losses. I remember on Halloween one day, the Packers beat the Jets 9-0. Like we all have these low scoring Jets games. In terms of wins, which game was worse? This or the Greg McElroy game?
God, I love being a Jets fan that this is a discussion.
Other fan base haven't seen a game like this in 20 years. We get like one every other year.
What other fan base is like, what's the worst win you've ever seen? What other fan base asks that question?
Who at least has multiple of these?
This felt worse because of all the injuries too. Like everything sucked. Like I don't remember. I don't think the Jets had 3 different centers get hurt in that game or whatever. They were down to like their 4th string center in that game. It was just bad offense. This was a combination of bad offense, terrible weather, the opposing team with bad offense, which that was the case in the McElroy Ryan Lindley game as well. But I think the injuries give this one the edge to me, and the sheer hilarity of it all. Like the fact that the game went to overtime is no reason that game should have went to overtime. There's no reason the Giants should have even given the Jets a chance to tie the game. I think this one takes the cake for that reason, but this one is also fresher in the mind. So
all right, here's a statement I'm going to make as I think we sign off. What a nauseating, horrendous, eye-bleedingly Halloween nightmare of a butcher fest that was at MetLife Stadium that the Jets won. I think that's really the only analysis you need to this game. This is like, there's no winners in this game. They were survivors.
Yes.
The Jets survived 13-10
somehow
against the Giants.
Not all of them. Some of the players didn't survive, but
some of them. Oh yeah, one of them, Al Woods, didn't survive.
Al Woods out for the year. He didn't make it out, but most of them made it out.
I mean, he's still alive, but football.
Well, yes. We're talking. We're giving analogies here. We're not being literal here. You're right though. This was a perfect pre-Halloween game. Like this was the best Halloween football game that we could have imagined because it was awful. Is that really true? Is that the least passing yards in the history of the NFL? That's not true. There's no way, right? Somebody in chat said that. I know that it's the least passing yards the Jets are ever allowed in a game. I don't think it's the least passing yards in the history of the NFL. That would be stunning.
It is the record. The old record was, remember the Patriots when they beat the Titans 59-0? They had -7.
Are you serious? So this is the lead. Oh my God.
Would the internet lie to me? That's what the internet says.
No, the internet would never lie to you. The internet would never lie. That's insane.
Holy crap. In 1955, the no longer called this anymore at the time. They were the Washington Redskins. Right. They had -3 passing yards on 1 of 9 passing and beat the Steelers 23-14.
I mean, we say, oh my God, that almost happened, right? That should have happened today. Like that exact thing pretty much should have happened today. I cannot believe the Giants just had a game where they had the least passing yards in NFL history and they should have won it. And we're sitting here and saying, yeah, they should have won this game. That's insane, man. Like that. Yeah, this is the silliest. This is the dumbest football game that I've ever watched in my life. And I pray to God I never watch a dumber game because I do
because I mean this. No, I don't want it to be a Jets game. I want it to be another team's game.
Okay, yeah. If that as a neutral observer, that would have been hilarious to watch. I completely agree. Although the injuries are not funny. Like that stuff's not funny. Although it was a little like comical when it's like, who the hell's playing center? There was a time where the Jets had Laken Tomlinson and Xavier Newman both taking snaps or both snapping the ball on the sideline because they were like, figure out who's better. Like, what an insane situation we put in. But anyway, man.
By the way, confirmed. I double checked it with a couple other things. Confirmed fewest passing yards in a game in NFL history.
Fewest passing yards in NFL history. And you realize the NFL's been around for over 100 years, right? It's been around in some capacity for over 100 years.
And then you start throwing the ball for 20 of them, pretty much.
Exactly. For some of those years, there wasn't even the forward pass wasn't legal. Somehow, in 2023, the Giants just finished a game with the least passing yards in a game in NFL history, and they nearly won it.
And they probably should have won it.
Yeah, they should have. They definitely should have won this game. 100% should have won this game. But here we are.
What was that old Trill Withers tweet where it says you got to be an effing idiot to be a sports fan? I mean, nothing ever encapsulates
you got to be an
credo
idiot.
quite like this game.
You got to be a moron to be a Jets fan. And I'm glad that we're all morons together because, wow, man. The Jets
collectively lower our IQs together on Wednesday when we do the Jet Press podcast and Monday when we'll be live after what I'm sure is going to be a barn burner between
I feel confident saying that it will be a better game. Maybe I regret that.
Yeah, because let's look at the two teams that are playing. Oh yeah, the famously stable Jets and Chargers. They never have crazy games.
Oh, dude, the Chargers could do something so stupid.
That's what I'm saying.
On prime time. Oh, dude, if Justin Herbert is... Look, I'm a Justin Herbert defender, so if he's bad in prime time, I'm going to want to defend him, even though it's against the Jets. Anyway, I agree. Steven in chat said morons for life. We are all morons for life. We are morons together. That is what this community is. And I appreciate that. I really do.
We love you morons because we're morons. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Jet Press podcast, reaching 500 subscribers, which we're so thrilled about. Thank you guys so much for that. As always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and Spotify, wherever it may be that you get your podcasts. We're on all those sites. Make sure to give us a sub on YouTube. Make sure to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Again, not for egotistical reasons, just to drive us up those review charts for the business end of things. So, Justin, now that our IQ has been sufficiently lowered and our eyes have been popped back into our heads after watching that complete slop in football form, bad football, I think, is the best kind of bad game to watch of any of the major bad sports. I agree. It's surreal at times. And this was a surreal win for the Jets, for better or worse.
Look, football is so beautiful when it's being played well. Like, it's so beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. But when it's bad, man, it is so bad.
It's like, more beautiful.
It doesn't even look like the same sport. At least the other sports all look relatively the same. You can tell it's like, oh, it's just good versus bad. You don't even look like you're playing the same sport when you're playing bad football. But anyway, with that being said, Mike, I got to take a cold shower. I got to wash my eyes out after what we just watched because that was awful. But anyway, to everyone who just sat through and listened to us talk about that terrible Jets game for like an hour, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter @ByMikeLuciano. You can follow me on Twitter @JustinTFried. Follow Jet Press @The Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Again, Mike said at the top of the hour at the beginning of the show, thank you all for getting us to 500 subscribers. That is an awesome milestone for us. We haven't really been making YouTube content for that long, but I'm having a blast. I think I can speak for Mike as well and say he's having a blast. We love it. We love interacting with all of you guys and just chatting Jets every week. The good, the bad, and definitely the ugly. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. You guys know what to do. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time and live immediately following every Jets game, whether it's an atrocity or not. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I have been Justin Fried. That has been Mike Luciano. We'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you on Wednesday.